Hello students, welcome to Sunya IAS. So today we are starting with yet another topic of CSAT, and this is ratio and proportion. So ratio and proportion, is a basic topic for UPSC because you will see some direct questions coming from the topic as well. Apart from that, you will see applied questions related to other topics. So you will see some mixture of, let's say, speed, distance and time, and there you are getting the concept of ratio and proportion. Earlier, if you remember, we saw a question in which the question was actually of average, but somewhere in between there was a small concept of ratio which was being used. And so it is a very important topic which cannot be ignored at any cost. Okay, so let's have some basic talk about what ratio is. So ratio, we can write it like this: A is to B. Suppose A and B are two people and their incomes are in the ratio of 6:7. It is just another way of representing this division A upon B. This fraction is nothing but 6/7. So ratio is just yet another way of representing a fraction. That is the basic idea of a ratio. And now suppose if there is given that the salaries of A and B are in the ratio of 6:7, there can be various possible values which apply or satisfy to this ratio. So suppose their salaries could be simply $6 or $7. They could be their multiples $12 and $14, 18 and $21. That would be 18 and $21. Or you can have 24 or $28. You can have different values of the salary of A and B. The only thing which will bind them together is that their ratio is always fixed, that is 6:7. Okay, so the basic idea is there can be different multiples of 6 also and 7 also which will satisfy this ratio, and the list of multiples is long lasting. So what we do to solve this particular question is that we assume a multiple of ratio. Okay, so let's say the basic question says that the salaries of A and B are in the ratio 6:7, and then the total salary which they get, both A and B included, is $130. So how much is the salary of individual A and B? Okay, so what we'll do in this question is that we'll assume some multiple of ratio. The basic idea is the salaries will be definitely in this ratio 6 and 7. So we will assume salary of A to be 6x and salary of B to be 7x, and here x is nothing but the multiple of ratio. So x can have different values. If x is equal to 1, the values will be simply 6 and 7. If x is equal to 2, the values could be 12 and 14. Simply if x is equal to 3, you can have 18 and 21 as different combinations which are actually satisfying this particular ratio. Now, what we have to do simply is, since we have assumed value of A to be 6x and value of B to be 7x, we'll just put both of these values here and here. So A plus B, 6x plus 7x is equal to 130. On adding the both, we get 13x equal to 130, and finally x is equal to 10. So now we have actually got the value of this multiple of ratio x which we assume. Now if we want to find the value of A, that is A's salary, it is going to be how much? 6 into 10, which would be nothing but rupees or $60. Similarly, if we talk about B, its salary is going to be 7x, that would be nothing but $70. So that is the basic process of how to solve ratio and proportion questions. Okay, and this approach will save you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and when you know such things, they are really helpful in the examination rather than just going by any arbitrary method. if you go by this method, definitely I guarantee you good results. Okay, so here is our ratio and proportion lecture in our offline, online, both hybrid courses. And so here we have exhaustively covered all the tricks, all the techniques, all the concepts which are necessary, just not to solve the ratio and proportion question themselves, but also those applied questions which might be of different topic, but there the concept of ratio is applicable. All right, so we'll move on. We'll begin with this particular question. In a rare coin collection, there is one gold coin for every 3 non-gold coins. So what is simply written here? Here is a ratio being told to you that gold coin is to non-gold coin. The ratio is how much? 1:3. Now, what is happening? 10 more gold coins are added to the collection. So here you are adding plus 10. And the ratio of gold coins to non-gold coins would be 1:2. And now if you do that, the ratio would become how much? 1:2. Based on the information, the total number of coins in the collection is. How much will the total number of coins in the collection become after adding these more 10 coins? All right. So what we are going to do here is very simple. We have the ratio of gold and non-gold coins, that is 1:3. We assume the ratio, multiple of ratio to be x. So number of gold coins is how much? X, and non-gold coins, this ratio is nothing but 3x. And now what we are doing, we are adding 10 more gold coins here. And if we do that, the new ratio becomes how much? 1:2. I just told you ratio is just another way of representing a fraction. So here what is happening is that gold upon non-gold coins would be how much they are in number? X plus 10 upon 3x, and that number is nothing but equal to 1:2. What we have to do, just simply we have to solve this equation to get the value of x. And from here we will get 2x plus 20 is equal to 3x. Further you will get the value x is equal to 20. So get the multiple of ratio as 20. If we put this 20 here, you get the total number of gold coins to be 20 plus 10, that is 30, after adding these 10 more coins. And non-gold coins are how much? 3 into 20, that is 60. If we add both of them up, you will get total 90 coins now. Okay, so be careful. There is this now written here. It means after adding 10 more coins, then final number is being asked. So you do not have to find the old number of coins, but the new number of coins, and that value would be A option, that is 90. Okay, so it was a very simple question. And now since we use this particular method of finding this multiple of ratio, your labor would be reduced by many folds. Okay, so we have this second question. A student appeared in 6 papers. So a student was giving 6 examinations. The maximum marks are same for each paper. So suppose there are 6 examinations, 6 tests in a particular examination, and they are all having same marks. Let us assume for all of them 100 is the maximum mark. Okay, his marks in these 3 papers are in the proportion of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So total, 6 papers are there. Paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And now here the proportion he is getting is how much? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, this is a 10. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just assume the marks to be what? We'll assume some multiple of ratio. So the marks in paper 1 would be 5x, 6x, 7x, 8x, 9x and 10x. Now overall he scored how much? 60%. So from the overall marks, how much are the overall marks going to be? There are total 6 papers of 100 marks each. So overall marks are, or the total marks are 600. Out of these overall 600 marks, he is getting 60%. So his score is how much? 60% of 600, and that is also equal to the sum of all these figures, right? The individual marks of each subject. So that would also be equal to 5x plus 6x. All right. So this is the equation. What we'll do, we'll just further simplify it down. Here we have 0.6 into 600 is equal to, now see this method of how I am adding them up. They are all consecutive, right? So 5x plus 10x, you get a 15x. 6x plus 9x, here you also get a 15x. Plus 7x and 8x, you also get a 15x. Overall, those three would add up to be equal to 45x. Okay. So if we have to find the value of x, what we'll do, we'll simply say that x is equal to nothing but 0.6 into 600 upon 45. If you solve this question in this way, a lot of time will be saved. And what is the ultimate value you are getting? You are getting actually 360 upon 45. And so, how much it comes out to be originally? Can you tell the final answer in this particular case? So when you cancel all of them out, actually you'll get the value of x to be 8, right? So 8 is going to be the multiple of ratio here. Now we'll move on to the question to find out actually what the question is demanding from us. The question says, how many number of papers did he score less than 60% of the maximum marks? In out of all these papers, in how many paper he is scoring less than 60% marks? So ultimately we calculated the value of x to be 8. Now let us erase all the unnecessary stuff from the whiteboard and we'll try to find out the marks in each individual subject. So here one can say that in this subject he is getting 5 into 8, that is 40 marks. Here 6 into 8, 48, 7 into 8, 56, 8 into 8, 64, 72, and further here you are getting 80 marks. Okay. Now it is being asked in how many papers you are scoring actually less than 60% of the maximum marks of that particular paper. So obviously if each paper is of 100 marks and if you want to score 60%, that means nothing but 60 marks at least you must score. So in these 3 papers, she is scoring or he is scoring less than 60 marks or less than 60%, one and the same thing. So there are total 1, 2 and 3 such papers in which the score is less than 60%. So this question was also pretty easy, and this method actually have, you know, depreciated a lot of effort which you could have to make otherwise if you didn't knew this way of solving this. Okay, so now this is another simple question, nothing difficult in that. The only thing which we have to figure out or to correct in this question is this particular ratio which is given in this, you know, somewhat ugly form of a fraction. So that is something which we have to do. Okay, so the question says sum of this amount is distributed among 3 people in the ratio of this. So what is the difference between maximum share and the minimum share? The only thing which we have to do in this particular question is to actually simplify this particular ratio. So we have 1 by 2 is to 3 by 4 is to 5 by 6. Now all of these are fractions. What we can do to simplify it is, you know, we are going to apply the concept of LCM here. Okay, so here what we'll do, we'll find the LCM of these 3 denominators, because I do not like these denominators. The numerators are good at the top. I don't like the things at the bottom. So actually, I'll find the LCM of 2, 4 and 6. That is something you should try yourself because we discussed it, at length in our previous video, and ultimately you'll get the value of LCM to be 12. And so if I multiply the whole ratio with 12, I will get somewhat simpler values. Okay, so what will be the new ratio like? So here we will have 12 upon 2 is to 3 into 12 upon 4 to 5 into 12 upon 6. So here you will get simply 6. On cancellation, you will get here 9. On cancellation, you will get here. That is going to be the good form of the same ratio. 6 is to 9 is to 10. So the question could have given you directly this particular ratio, but he wants to check your basic concept with LCM topic also. That's why CSAT is challenging, because it is not just using the concept of one particular topic, but it is also mixing the concepts of other topics also, which we are studying, step by step. So pay attention. And now we got the final ratio 6 is to 9 is to 10. So let me just clear all of it. So we have 6 to 9 is to 10 as a good ratio. And now in this ratio, you are distributing how much? Rupees 2500 you are distributing. So what we'll do, we'll do the same thing. We'll assume some multiple of ratio. This one will become 6x. This one will become 9x. This one will become 10x. Okay. If you add all of them up, you get 25x is equal to 2500. X would be simply equal to rupees 100. Now, what is being asked in the question? It is being asked difference between maximum share and the minimum share. Can you guess from these three people which one is going to have the maximum share? Undoubtedly, it is going to be this guy. This is the maximum share. So the maximum share, let me write it down here. Is nothing but 10x, which comes out to be rupees 1000. If you put the value x is equal to 100 here, you will get 1000. And now what is going to be the minimum share? Undoubtedly, this is going to be the minimum share. So minimum share would be 6x, that would be nothing but 600 rupees. We have to find the difference between the two, that is 1000 minus 600, and that value would be equal to, can you guess? Yeah, it's going to be 400. The correct answer would be option number C, that is 400 rupees. So it was a very simple question, provided you are able to mix the concept from one topic to another topic, and that will take a lot of practice. Okay, so do not leave the battlefield so early. Next question. The monthly incomes of X and Y are in the ratio 4:3, and their monthly expenses are in the ratio 3:2. However, each of them saves rupees 6,000 per month. So what is their total monthly income? Okay. So what is happening here? There are two people. Ratio of salary is given, ratio of expenditure is given, and saving is given. We have to find the total income. That is the question. Now, I hope this basic one thing you understand, and that is income minus expenditure is equal to save. I hope this concept does not require any effort at all for understanding that whatever you earn and a part of it which you spend, the remaining part is nothing but your savings. Okay, which is good work to do. Now we'll focus to the question. Again, this is the basic concept we'll be applying in this particular question. So I just told you beforehand. Now back to the discussion. Salaries, let's talk about incomes of X and Y are in the ratio of 4:3. So let us assume the multiple of ratio to be X. So the salary of X would be how much? 4x, and the salary of Y is going to be how much? 3x. Okay. Now let us talk about their expenses. Their expenses are in the ratio 3:2. So now here we have to assume one more multiple of ratio, but a word of caution, the multiple of ratio cannot be same in this case. We'll use a different multiple of ratio. So here we'll assume it to be y. So you have 3y and 2y as the expenses of x and y respectively. Okay. How much each of them are saving? Both of them are saving how much? Rupees 6,000. So you can say income of x, when we talk about x, his income is 4x, expenditure is 3y, and he is saving 6,000. If we talk about y, he is actually earning 3x, spending 2y, and saving is finally 6,000. Right? What we have to do, we have to just solve these two equations to get the value of x and y. Y is something we do not particularly need. We need to find the total monthly income. So it is x which we need to actually find out. So there are different ways of solving different equations. In this way, the best method is going to be this one which I am going to tell you now. So pay attention here. This equation is equal to 6,000. This equation is also equal to 6,000, which basically means this part is also equal to this part. So I can directly write 4x minus 3y is nothing but 3x minus 2y. Bring x on one side and send y on other. So here 4x minus 3x. Here it will become positive 3y minus 2y. Ultimately we will get x is equal to y. This is one relation. If you put this relation in any of these equations, so you can have just a value of y replaced from here. You can have 4x minus 3x is going to be 6,000, and if you subtract this, you're getting the value of x to be 6,000. Finally, we have calculated the value of x, but it is not x which we need. It is actually the total incomes of x and y which we need. So how much the total incomes are going to be? The total incomes of x and y are going to be 4x plus 3x, which is nothing but 7x, and the value of x we found out to be 6,000. So it is going to be 7 into 6,000, that is 4,200,000. Okay, option number B is going to be the correct option in this case. Okay, so this was it. It was a very easy question, and now I'm going to tell you a very good news. The good news is that exactly this question with a slight change has been repeated by UPSC in a previous year. So here is that question. It is being asked in 2005. You will see that even the values are not being changed. Okay, so here the monthly income of Peter and Paul. So earlier we had x and y. Now we have names given to this guy Peter and Paul, and they are in the ratio of 4:3 like earlier. And their expenses are in the ratio 3:2 like earlier. Both were saving how much? 6,000 like earlier at the end of the month. The monthly incomes respectively are. So the only difference in this particular question is that now instead of x and y you have Peter and Paul, and now total monthly salary is not being asked. What is being asked is individual salaries. So you get it? The whole question is just repeated as it is. And so I know the calculation is exact same. Whatever calculation we did here, we'll get exact same result. So if we look at the previous slide, we got the value of x as how much? 6,000. The income of Peter would be x previously, would be 4x, and that of Paul, which was y previously, would be nothing but 3x. So 4 into 6,000 would be 24,000, and here we'll have 3 into 6,000 would be nothing but 18,000. Both of these values are nothing but the option number. So same question is being repeated. Can you see? So you might be lucky, you might find one of these questions here in the CSAT examination as well. So just stay tuned with us. And so it was a very simple question and repeated also. What is the best thing about it is that it is repeated. Okay, so the questions we covered so far were direct application based on the question of ratio and proportion. Now what we are going to see now are questions in which the concept of ratio is applied. Okay, so here we do not have to just use the old method, but we'll have to find the ratio at the end of each question. So let us go with that. So let us read this particular question. The total emoluments, if you are not familiar with the word emoluments, you must consider studying GS2 polity, GS2 or polity again, because this is a word being used again and again there. So it is nothing but salary. Simple way of saying salary. Okay, of two persons are same, but one gets allowance to the extent of 65% of his basic pay, while the other gets allowance to the extent of 80% of his basic pay. So the basic pay, ratio of basic pay to the former and to the later is. So to simplify the question, I'll take two persons. I'll take A and B. Okay, there are two persons. They are getting some salary. So, you know, if you work, you might have the idea that there is some basic salary which you get, and on the base of that salary you get various allowances. So suppose you have dearness allowance, so that your salary can counter inflation. You have housing allowance, different allowances are there. Okay, so here suppose the basic pay we assume to be simply A and B. And now what about allowances? So allowances A is getting is 65% of basic pay. That would be nothing but 65% of A can be written as 0.65A. Similarly, when we talk about B, his allowance is nothing but how much? 80% of the basic pay. That is 80% of B, nothing but 0.8 times B. Okay. What is given to us is that the total emoluments are equal. So both A and B actually are getting the same amount of emoluments. The total emolument is how much? A, this basic pay plus this allowance, that is nothing but A plus 0.65A. And here basic pay is B plus he is getting how much allowance? 0.8B. So this guy overall is earning how much? 1.65A, and this guy is earning how much? 1.8B. And both of them are equal. Both of these emoluments are equal as the question has told. So what we have got here is that we have got this relation between A and B. Okay. So let me just clear the space here so that we can proceed further with the question. And you can see question is pretty easy. There's nothing difficult about this question. So here you can see the ratio of basic pay of the former was nothing but A, and later nothing but B. So if we talk in simple Hindi, former means the first guy, pehle wala insan, that is nothing but A, and later is nothing but baad wala, the later guy, the second guy, who is nothing but B. We have to find the ratio of basic pay of A and B. We assume the basic pay of A to be A, and that of B, we assume it to be B. This ratio we have to find. Can we find this? Yes, absolutely, using this information. So we have 1.65 A is equal to 1.8 B. A by B is nothing but 1.8 upon 1.65. We'll have simply, if you get rid of the decimal, you can also write it like this, 1.80, doesn't matter. We'll have 180 upon 165. Both can be cancelled using a factor of 15. Here you will get 12, you get 11, and ultimately A is to B would be nothing but 12 is to 11. That is going to be the final answer. That is option number D here is going to be the final answer. So it was a very good question, applied question here. Ratio is not given in the question, but it is asked from you. Okay, that is something you have to find. So read this particular question with great attention, because it is a really good question, and it may appear to be from speed, distance and time, but the basic concept being applied here are from geometry also and from ratio also. So just read it, give it a good read. Okay, so I hope you have read this question by pausing it. So two persons are there, A and B. They are running on a circular track. Okay, so let me draw a circular track. This is a circular track. At the start, B is ahead of A and their position make an angle of 30 degree with the center. Okay, so suppose this is a circle. Since it is a circle, it might have a center also here. Suppose this is the center O. And now this is the position of our first guy, who is nothing but A. And there is another person B, who is actually 30 degree ahead. So he is ahead. Suppose race is going on this direction and he is ahead by an angle of 30 degree. Are you able to figure out this particular thing by reading this? Because this is very important to approach in CSAT. So this is the scenario which I have drawn. Now moving on and reading it further, we'll get when A reaches the point diametrically opposite to his starting position. So he's starting at this point, let's call it point P. Suppose he is here initially at point P. After running from here to here, he reaches the diametrically opposite point, and that point becomes what? Let's call it Q. What is happening when he reaches that point? He actually meets B at that point. So he meets B. So what is happening here overall is that from initial point P, A runs and reaches up to Q. In the same time, B is also starting from here and meeting him at this point. Okay, so this is the distance traveled by both of them in same time. Now, what is being asked? What is the ratio of speeds of A and B if they are running with uniform speeds? Okay, that is the question. Now, it may seem a mix of different concepts. Here, geometry is also applicable. Speed, distance and time, the basic concepts are also applicable, and ratio we have to find ultimately. So, first we'll go with the geometry part of it. And before that, let us have a basic talk about speed, distance and time also. So you know that speed is nothing but what? Distance upon time. This is the basic concept of speed, distance and time. Okay, very easy. So if you want to find the ratio of speeds, so if you want to find the ratio of SA and SB, their speeds, what you have to find is nothing but distance traveled by A upon time taken by A to distance traveled by B upon time taken by B. This particular ratio we have to find out. Now here they are starting at the same point of time. They are meeting here at the same point of time. So time taken by both would be the same. So here you can just cancel out simply TA and TB, that doesn't matter. Here we can say the ratio of speeds is going to be nothing but the ratio of distances which they are traveling. Okay. This is first part, the basics of speed, distance and time which I am applying here. Now let us talk about geometry. So can we figure out how much is the distance they are traveling? So if we talk about A, he is starting from here and he is going through this whole distance. Okay. One basic thing is that since he is covering the length about one semicircle, this much from here to here, how much is the angle? This angle is nothing but 180 degree. So if he had traveled the whole 360 degree angle, he might have completed the distance equal to the circumference. Are you getting it? So if he would have moved 360 degree around the circle, he would have completed a distance equal to the circumference, which is nothing but 2 pi r. Okay. Basic concept of mensuration, right? So it's a mixed question, but a very good question. And now he is traveling only 180 degree, which is nothing but half of it. So he'll be traveling how much? 180 upon 360 into 2 pi r. Just cancel all these out. You will get the distance to be pi r. So the distance traveled by A is equal to pi r. Right? Now let us talk about B. How much distance B is traveling? So B starts from here and travels this much distance, stops here. This is the particular angle which B is moving. How much that angle will be equal to? that angle will be equal to the total 180 degree minus this 30 degree part. So overall you will get from here to here is that angle which is moving is 180 degree minus 30 degree. That would come out to be nothing but 150 degree. So the angle completed by B is equal to how much? 150 degrees. And now we have to find the distance in that case also. Similarly, here you can see if he would have traveled 360 degree complete circle, he would have traveled the distance equal to the circumference, that is 2 pi r. But now in this case, he is traveling only 150 degree distance. So how much he would cover? He would cover 150 upon 360 into 2 pi r. Further, you can just multiply this. You will get 300 upon 360 into pi r. You can cancel these out. You will get the value 6 by 5 pi r. So the distance covered by B, that is nothing but dB, is 6 by 5 pi. Okay, so using geometry, we found out the total distances which both of these guys traveled. So this is a really good question, okay, in that matter. And now, let's say we have to find the ratio of speeds. As I told you, since the time is same, ratio of speeds would be equal to the ratio of distances they have traveled. Distance of A is how much? Pi r. Distance of B is how much? 6 by 5 pi r. So pi r will be simply cancelled and you will have the ratio very simply as 1:6 by 5. What we can do is just multiply whole ratio by 5, and if we multiply this whole ratio by 5, we will get the value as nothing but how much? 5. Sorry, it's not 6 by 5. There's a slight mistake. This is not 6 by 5, it is actually 5 by 6. Okay, so sorry for that. That would be simply 5 by 6, and here also it would be 5 by 6, and you take 6 on that side, ultimately you will get the ratio 6:5. So correct answer is going to be option number A, that is 6:5 is going to be the correct option here. Alright, so it was a really good question. As I told you, here geometry, ratio, speed, distance and time, mensuration, all are being applied. I know here whatever concepts were being applied were quite easy. There was nothing much difficult, but it is a mixed question and therefore a good question. And it is not such a question which you may find difficulty in. Okay, so here we have question number 8. Out of 120 applications for a post, 70 are male and 80 have a driver's license. So suppose there is a job opening and there are total 120 applications for that job. Out of those 120 applications, the males are 17 number, and so females would be how much? 120 minus 70, that is 15 number. One more information is provided that those who have a driving license, in short let's call it DL, they are actually 18 number, and therefore those who do not have DL would be how much? Remaining, that is 14 number. Okay, so this is the information given in the first line. We'll move on to the next line. What is the ratio between minimum to maximum number of males having a driver license? So what is the case in which males have minimum number of driving license ratio, the case in which maximum number of males have a driving license? So what we have to write is minimum male have DL. This is the first case, and another case is maximum males not have DL. These are the two cases. Oh, sorry, maximum males have. Okay, not like this. Maximum males have a driving license. Now, what would be the case in which minimum males have driving license? Simply, if you brainstorm a bit, if all the females have their driving license, then that would be the case where men will have minimum number of licenses. So suppose there are total 80 people which have a driving license. If out of all those 80, 50 are women, all of the women have their driving license, then that would be the case where men have the least number of or the minimum number of driving licenses. So in this case, what is happening? All females have DL, and therefore if 50 females, all of them have driving license, the number of licenses left with males would be 80 minus 50, that is 30. So this is the minimum number of licenses which the males can have. Similarly, if we talk about the maximum number of licenses with men, that would be the case where all the males have their licenses, and since there could be maximum 80 people with licenses, all of them, all the 70 males will have a license, and so we can write all males are having their driving license. In this case, all 70 will have the DA. What we have to find is the minimum number and the maximum number, that is we have to find the ratio of 30 is to 70. Cancel out. Simply it would be 3 is to 7, and it is written in a different way, 3 to 7. It means nothing but this only. So option number C is going to be the correct answer in this case. So here the concept of ratio is not that applicable. We have to find the ratio at the end, but basic idea is, if you want, आप अगर ये चाहते हैं कि मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ मेल्स के पास लाइसेंस हो, तो जितने के जितने फीमेल्स हैं, सारे के सारे फीमेल्स को you provide the license. Remaining 30 would have license only in that case. Similarly, if you want maximum number of males to have the license, then in that case you will provide all the males with the license, and therefore all the 70 males will have a license. So the ratio comes out to be 3 is to 7. Okay, it was a very easy question. No basic concept, nothing is much applicable. Here in this question, what you have to apply is your common sense, right? Moving on to the next part, second last question of the day. This is a really tricky question. So although it's very easy, but it's quite tricky. So there are 3 points P, Q and R on a straight line such that PQ is to QR is 3 is to 5. If N is the number of possible values of PQ and PR, what is it equal to? So we have to find N, that is we have to find the number of possible values of this particular ratio PQ and QR. And in this question, I think a bit of geometry but more of common sense would be applicable, and apart from that this question is pretty easy, pretty smooth. So suppose we have a case where we have a point P, then there is a point Q, okay, and then there is a point R. So he is saying that PQ is to QR is in the ratio PQ is to QR is in the ratio 3 is to 5, which means this length PQ would be how much? 3x, and this length QR would be how much? 5x, right? This is the first case. Do you think there could be any another possibility of the arrangement of PQ and the all the 3 points? Is there any possibility? Just give it a thought. Try to think, is there any other possible way of arranging these 3 points so that they are in the same ratio? Okay, just give it a try, just give it a thought. Okay, yes, there is a way. If you have thought, that's very well. If not, I'll ask you just to pause the video and think. This is the best part about CSAT, when you have to brainstorm. And I want you to be active, engaging participants of this game. So here what we have to do, the another possibility is going to be this. So we have Q and R here. This length is 5x, and then we have a point P here in between, not away from P and Q, but in between Q and R. So here P is initially away from Q and R. Here we are putting P in between Q and R, such that this ratio PQ is again 3:5. So here also 3x and 5x, these values you are having. These are the possible two cases which you can have. This is nothing but case 1. This is nothing but case. These are the two possible cases which we can have. One is when P is in between Q and R. Another is when away. Here it is away. P is away from Q and R, and here P is in between Q and R. These are the two cases which are possible here. Okay. So what we have to ultimately find? We have to find the possible values of PQ and PR. So here in this case, PQ is how much? If you talk about case 1, PQ is 3x. So case 1, PQ is 3x, and PR is how much? 3x plus 5x. This total distance would be nothing but 8x, and therefore the ratio would be nothing but 3:8. Let me write it again clearly. The ratio would be 3:8. Another case would be the bottom one, where PQ is 3x as usual, but PR is how much? 5x minus 3x, that is equal to 2x. So the another ratio as per case 2 would be nothing but 3x:2x, or simply 3:2. So there are two possible values of this particular ratio, and therefore n is equal to 2. This n was something we had to find. So option number B is going to be the correct answer for this particular option. So this question was very easy in terms of calculation. What takes to solve this question is a lot of common sense. To think that Q can lie outside Q and R as well as in between them also. If you think that, if you brainstorm on that part, you'll be able to solve this question very easily. So yeah, there is a general approach to all of the questions, but sometimes there is an amount of brainstorming that you have to do, and I hope that you are doing enough brainstorming. So even after I have told you the solution, just try to think about it. Just try to think that are there various cases possible which might I have missed, although that is not the case, but just think. Okay, so thinking is very necessary in CSAT. And so now we are at the last question of the day. The last question, and it is also a conceptual question which you have to go through. Very easy, nothing difficult about it, but very conceptual. It also will require some brainstorming. So the previous question and now this question also, you must apply your brain along with me. So just follow. So an amount of money was distributed among A, B and C in the ratio of P, Q, R. Okay, now we have to answer the following statements. Statement 1 says A gets the maximum share if P is greater than Q plus R. So obviously if P is greater than Q plus R, A will get the maximum ratio. For example, let's say we say that the ratio is 5:2:1. Here you can say P is 5, Q is 2 and R is 1. Here you can say P is greater than Q plus R, because 5 is actually greater than 2 plus 1. So here it is evident, it is clearly visible that the share of 5 is going to be the maximum share here. Okay, so this statement is definitely correct, no doubts about that. We'll move on to the next part of the question. P gets the minimum share if R is less than P plus Q. So let us think about another example where we are having such a value where R is the minimum share and it is actually less than sum of P and Q. So actually that thing is not possible. Okay, just try to think about it. Why it is not possible, why it cannot be the case. Just like I have taken some examples here, I urge you to think of some more examples which actually satisfy this particular condition. Okay, are you able to think? Are you able to think of such examples? So suppose we have the value of 10 divided in the ratio 5:3:2. Now, obviously, 3 is not getting the minimum share, but if you check it like this, that 3 is less than 5 plus 2, it is satisfying the condition. Okay, let us not take this example, let us take some another example, just aligning with the values of P, Q and R. So suppose we have the ratio 5:2:3, 5 is P, 2 is Q and 3 is R. Okay, here R is equal to 3 and it is less than sum of P and Q. Sum of P and Q is nothing but 5 plus 2, which is 7. So this condition is satisfied, correct? But even then R is not having the minimum share. See, R is not having the minimum share. It is Q which is having the minimum share. So this condition is not satisfied. This condition is wrong. So in order to get the minimum share, R should be individually less than P also and Q also. In that case only it will get the minimum share. R should be less than P also and Q also. From both of the values it should be less. Only then it is going to be the smallest share. For example, if we change the ratio slightly and we make it like this, 5:2:1 like previously, this 1 or R will get the minimum ratio only when this 1 is less than 5 and this 1 is less than 2. Only in that case this 1 will have the minimum share. So this statement is incorrect and the correct option here is going to be option number A, 1 only. Okay, so it was again a conceptual question. Okay, here you have to think, you have to just start your brainstorm, apply the power of thinking in such questions, and I guarantee you that it will help you in some way or the other. It is very good to ask your brain to run on such sprints now and then, so that it will help you in CSAT a lot. These are the questions which might help you get much above the desired barrier, the desired 66 marks or 33% cutoff. You must be well above it, and such questions, if you apply your brain, you might be lucky to find similar questions in the CSAT examination. And so guys, thank you so much. That was the topic of ratio and proportion.